Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Headley, and I am going to go through your acoustic evaluation lab here in the lab right now with Katrina, and she's going to actually be following my verbal instructions as I walk you through the lab. I want to draw your attention first to your lab worksheet, which I have uploaded here. And you can see that it starts with the speaking fundamental frequency, and then the second piece is the average sound pressure level, the third being the fundamental frequency range, and the fourth is the perturbational analysis. And then there are some normative data you can reference in the chart for the fundamental frequency, and then as well as the what is abnormal for perturbation. Okay, so this has been uploaded. You should print this out, and when you do your voice lab, and if you want to use this as a guide for your midterm as you are recording those data, that can also be helpful for you. Okay, so we have gone to the computer software program here. We're going to run through the Praat version first. So all I have done is pulled up the Praat software, and what you're going to want to do is go to, I'm going to kind of go close in here to where it says Praat Objects, and you're going to click under New, and then you're going to click Record Mono Sound. Okay, so once we've done that, the default settings should appear there for you even after you have downloaded this software to your computer. You want to click on Mono. Again, that should be the default. And the reason for choosing the mono is because we're recording one signal. Now, if we were in a situation in which we wanted to capture various sound sources, then stereo would be more appropriate. But for purposes of your voice evaluation, you're going to choose mono. Off to your right, you can see the sampling frequencies, and it will always default to the 44,100 hertz. You want it to be there, and this is sort of when you look at how sensitive the system is in terms of capturing specific frequencies, for purposes of a voice analysis, that would be a very appropriate sampling frequency. So you're going to go then to this bottom part here where it says name, and you're going to name your file. So this is just going to be a trial, so go ahead and type in trial. And you could obviously add different letters or numbers to indicate a trial number or a particular sound, a phoneme, whatever makes most sense for you. But what we're interested in doing right now is we want to get the speaking fundamental frequency, which is that number 1 on your lab worksheet. So you can see that there is a microphone here, and I will be the client. Typically, we recommend that the mouth, the distance between the microphone and your lips should be approximately 6 inches. So there's a nice little tuning fork here that is almost 6 inches, and it's kind of a nice way to tell me if I'm close enough or if I'm too far away. So I'll keep my mouth at that distance during all of the speaking tasks. Okay, so now we're going to go to the record button. And what I am going to instruct you guys to do, I think kind of sort of best practice is, if you're working with your client, you're going to be capturing the acoustic waveform, and eventually you'll see a spectrogram. You want to capture phonation sound the whole time, right? So if you click record just a half a second or a second after they begin speaking or begin phonating, then you will eliminate that sort of moment of silence, and then it'll be a lot easier for you to highlight the spectrogram and then capture the waveform to retrieve the data that you need for your analysis. So for this first piece here, you can do just some spontaneous speech. I could read a passage, but I actually like to ask my patients to just start talking, because that's really what we want to know. What is their sort of habitual pitch whenever they're talking? So Katrina would then ask me to talk about maybe a favorite vacation of mine or something, and you only need, you know, a minute, really, not even, because you're not going to have to capture very much of that signal in order to get the data. But it's perfectly okay for your client to talk for a few minutes or 5 minutes. That's fine, especially if the client has a lot of fluctuations. Maybe you kind of want to see what, you know, if there's consistency or inconsistency with regard to the voice quality. So I'm just going to start talking about my favorite vacation that I went on, and here I go. So the favorite vacation that I have ever had was about 7 years ago when I went to Paris, and I stayed in a apartment that I rented. It was really awesome because I just felt like I was a native Parisian as opposed to staying in some Americanized hotel, and I really enjoyed my time there. I went to the Eiffel Tower and did lots of fun things, ate all kinds of great food, and I can't wait to go back. So great. Okay, so Katrina stopped the signal there, and that's perfectly fine. So what now I want to show you is how we're going to view that signal and then determine what my fundamental frequency is. So she's going to save to list and close. And what you're now going to see is that the sound trial will come up, and off to your right there is a bar that says view and edit. So she's going to go ahead and click that, and there you see your acoustic waveform, and you can see the formants below. What we're going to do is listen to just a portion of that signal. So if you just click on, there should be a selection that says, that allows you to play it. You click File and Play, I'm sorry, under View, Play, yeah. And let's just go ahead and keep it at the 0 seconds to 43 seconds, which is how long I spoke, and then OK. So the favorite vacation that I have ever had was about 7 years ago when I went to Paris, and I stayed in an apartment that I rented. It was really awesome because I just felt like I was a native Parisian as opposed to staying in some Americanized hotel, and I really enjoyed my time there. I went to the Eiffel Tower and did lots of fun things, ate all kinds of great food, and I can't wait to go back. So okay, great. So you can sort of check the quality, make sure that obviously it's playing back what it was that you just recorded. And then what you want to do is just kind of highlight a portion of this to get the fundamental frequency. Now, you can, I could certainly highlight the whole piece, but it's just really not necessary. You can see that there's a dotted red line, which is sort of half of the time that I spoke. If you would just take your cursor, Katrina, and then just from the very start of that screen there, and then just highlight from there until that dotted red line there. Good. Okay. And what that does is just, it's letting the computer know this is the signal that I want to be analyzed. And if you then go to pulses and click on voice report, you will see a voice report pops up. Now, lots of different data are here. However, for purposes of fundamental frequency, we are going to look under pitch and capture the mean pitch. And so you can see that mine is 109.045 hertz. And then I have a standard deviation there of 16.58. You can see my min and max. This is really all that you're going to be able to capture on the screen, even though there are a lot of data. There is no information that tells me what my average loudness was here. And that I can capture from another screen. But what I'm going to do is record that data. So on your worksheet, you can go ahead and write in my habitual pitch, fundamental frequency, which is 109.05. Okay, I estimated, it's fine. And now let's look at sort of what is average or normal for men. And it looks like I am okay. So anywhere between 85 to 196. The mean for most adult males, as you can see, is 128 hertz. I'm a little on the low end, but I've always kind of been a little lower. So there we go. Now let's capture our average sound pressure level. So we're going to go ahead and X out of your screen there. And using that same portion, you can now go under intensity and then just click get intensity. Okay, and that data that comes up there is my average. It says mean energy intensity, so it's my average intensity as I was speaking, which was 67.04 dB. And that's what you would want to write in there. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it said 67, but it says 57. So I was a little low. It's usually not the case for me, but who knows. Anywhere between 60 to 80 dB SPL would be within normal limits. I guess I'm pretty close there. If you wanted to capture the minimum loudness and the maximum loudness, you can do that. I'm not requiring you to do that for purposes of this task, but if you go ahead and click out of that again, and then go to your intensity listing and get minimum intensity and get maximum intensity, those will give you those data. Go ahead and click on get maximum intensity. And so my max was 68.75. I was just kind of curious, make sure that at least I was getting up there a little louder than what I should have been. Okay, so let's go ahead and click out of that. Great. Now we're going to go to our fundamental frequency range. Now this is the, I think the portion of a voice evaluation that makes the clinician a little bit uncomfortable, and sometimes the client as well, because you're asking them to do some odd things with their voice, and if they're not singers and they don't do a lot of singing of scales, going up and down a scale, then it can just kind of seem a little odd for them. You can see that on your sheet it has 3 attempts at each task, and we hope that each client will have between 2.5 to 3 octaves. I want to draw your attention to a table now, which is the frequency conversion table to match hertz with semitones. I don't believe that I uploaded this for you guys, and I apologize, but I do have a few versions of this. And basically, sorry, it's a little shaky as I'm recording this, but what you can see is this one actually is for females. Actually, I think what I'm going to do is refer to another pitch range that Dr. Morris would use for adults. And obviously the range maybe, or I should say the notes that males are able to hit in terms of range might be different because females tend to be able to hit higher notes, but the range of in terms of octaves should be pretty much the same. That 2.5 to 3 octave is what we're shooting for. For those of you who are familiar with music, and you can see that 33 hertz there, the first number, is equivalent to the key of C, okay? And then if you go half a step up, semitone, then you're at C sharp, and then that would be 35 hertz. You can see that it then goes all the way to 65 hertz being C2. So C1 to C2 would indicate 1 octave. So just using this as an easy reference, we would hope that our client would be able to go from C1, let's say that were their lowest note, all the way to about 98 to 104, to about a G, okay? That would be the 2.5 octaves, and then obviously C all the way to C3 would be 3 octaves. So I'm going to demonstrate for you how we go about doing this particular task. If you look at your worksheet again, the low frequency stepping, and I'm not going to do 3 trials, but know that you should do 3 trials with your client and then select the trial that has the largest range, okay, and let them use that data, and hopefully at least one of them will be within that 2.5 to 3 octaves. So for stepping, low frequency stepping, what you're going to have the client do is you're going to tell them to start at their sort of lowest note, and you can have them do an ah. Sometimes it's easier for some patients to do la, an LA, and then for some, if it's still just that foreign to them, they're more familiar with like the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do scale, so you can have them do that as well. It really doesn't matter. It's just try to find that in your lowest note. You don't want to encourage them to go into the glottal fry range, so it's the lowest note that they can produce without having that creaky, scratchy, very, very glottal fry-like quality. So then you're going to step up. Now that's different from gliding. Stepping meaning that we're going, there's sort of a moment of silence in between each note, just sort of maybe a half second to a second. And I'm going to step all the way up to my highest note that I'm comfortable at singing. So let's go ahead and do this, and then the high frequency stepping, the second one, is just going doing that but in the reverse order. Okay, so we're going to go back to our Praat screen now, and we can X out of that there. And now we're going to record a new signal. Again, we're going to go to the mono sound. And so let's save this one as, what do you think, Katrina? What should we save it as?
Low frequency stepping.
Sure. So she's going to use some code there, LFS, to indicate that we're doing low frequency stepping. And so for this feature, you don't necessarily have, you actually don't want to have the person, you don't want to hit record after they've already begun, because it's crucial that you capture that very first part of the note, right? Don't worry, it will capture that note and it'll be very easy for you to see the range. So go ahead and hit record. Oh, uh, 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 and stop. Okay, so now we're going to save to list and close. And what we want to do is look at the minimum and the maximum there. So view and edit, and you can see that all of my notes have been captured there, and you're going to go ahead and highlight those. Good. And then if you click on this time, click on pitch, and then click on get minimum pitch. Okay, so my minimum pitch was 75.5, what is it, 53 hertz, okay? You would then make note of that on your little sheet there, and let's look at our conversion table. 75.3 hertz would be consistent. It's kind of in between D and D sharp, okay? So I am, yes. So I'm going to, and that's in sort of the second octave. So we're going to kind of mark that there, and then look at what my maximal pitch is. So let's go ahead and capture your max pitch. So X out of that, and then go back under pitch, and she's going to select get maximum pitch, and it's, what is that?
488.61.
488.61. So she's going to make note of that on her form, and then I'm in between an A sharp and a B. So how many octaves? I need to be at least 2.5, right? So I have, let's say, started at, I'm just going to use D2. D2 to D3 would be 1 octave. D3 to D4 would be 2 octaves. D4 to where I am is just about 2.5 octaves. So I just made it. You can see that the 3 octaves would have been at 587 hertz, but I wasn't quite that high. So that's perfectly within functional limits for adult male range, and obviously I'm not a professional singer. So you can go ahead and record that range, and then, like I said, you would do 3 of those, and then circle the sort of the highest range, okay? I would do the same exact thing for high frequency stepping, except I would start with my highest note and then go down. What you probably will see is that the range tends to be typically very close, okay? So you're still going to be able to get that 2.5 to 3 range. For the low frequency gliding, now this is where there's continuous sound for the entire phonation period. So I'm going to start with my lowest note, and then I'm just going to glide up to the highest note and stop there. So there will be no pauses in between notes. So again, you can do it on an ah, you can do it on an e, you could do it on a la. I would say that you could do it on the do, re, mi, but it's almost preferable to stick with one sustained vowel, because patients sometimes tend to, sorry, there's some feedback that I'm getting from the lighting here. What's going on? It keeps getting really, really white on my screen here. But let's go ahead and X out of the screen there. And now we're going to create a new file again, chord mono sound. And this time she's going to call this, what do you want to call that one?
Which one are you doing?
I'm going to do the low frequency gliding. Okay, and so Katrina would instruct me to go ahead whenever you're ready, start with your lowest note and then go all the way up to your highest note. Now again, it would be preferable that you model this for your client. I told Katrina she didn't have to model this for me, but you do kind of want to give a demonstration of what it is that you want them to do, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and ask you to hit record, Katrina. Okay. Kind of have a feeling that I might not have hit my 2.5 octave range there, but let's just see. So she clicked on the waveform, and now she's going to select that piece there, which is where I'm actually singing up the scale, and then she's going to go back to her pitch analysis, and she's going to get my minimal pitch, and it was 74.30. So again, very, very close to kind of where I was in the previous one. So let's just say again, like D. And then she's now going to capture my highest pitch during that scale. And it looks like it's 423.89. Okay? And that is between a G sharp and an A, so I'm still okay. I'm about the 2.5 range again for my gliding scale range. Obviously, for the other portion of the gliding where you're just going to go down. So you're going to start with your highest note and then glide down. So oh, and capture that and then analyze that. Okay. All right, so now we have done the first 3 parts of the Voice Acoustic Lab, and we're just going to do the perturbation analysis now. Now, for perturbation analysis, I'm just going to kind of look at the paper here again. You can see that I have vowels ah and e, and then I have jitter, shimmer, and h and r. It almost looks like you have to do 9 recordings there, but you don't, which is good. So you only really have to do 3 ahs and 3 e's, okay? You'll be able to capture jitter, shimmer, and h and r for that first ah, and then again for the second and for the third. So there really are not 9. And then if you choose to do e, you can also look at that. Now what you'll see is that in the literature, when you look at normative data, you could also do an oo. And if you were to do an oo, the normative data for those perturbations is a little different. So let's just, for the purposes of your midterm project, as well as the purposes of your lab, and I would say even it would be perfectly okay for purposes of future clients to just stick with ah. That is very standard practice. I just included the e because some therapists do that. So the idea is that the clinician is going to instruct me to phonate ah for about 5 seconds, okay? Now I really only need about 3 seconds of that, but it is kind of good to shoot for 5 seconds. And she's going to capture that signal. So let's go ahead and, what are we going to call this? So we're going to open up a new file, record mono sound, and now she's going to call this 1. Okay, good. And on this one, I would encourage Katrina not to actually hit the record button until I have begun phonating, okay? And then she can kind of know when I'm gonna stop because she's instructed me to do 5 seconds, or you can even ask the client to kind of give you a hand signal whenever they're about ready to stop. But click the stop button right before they've actually finished phonating. And then what you'll see is that you actually have captured the entire phonation period, and there's no breaks there before or after. So I'm going to go ahead and take a deep breath, and using my nice, where is it, tuning fork here. As you can see, I'm going to put the distance from that microphone to my lips, and I'm going to go ahead and phonate ah for 5 seconds. Ah. Okay. Now, Katrina hit record right sort of after I started, and then she stopped it right before I stopped. So we should see that it's all blue whenever we look at that. So she saved it and closed it, and now she's going to go to view and edit. Sorry, it's hard to capture this. And then you can see that the entire screen is all voice, right? So did you already highlight that? Okay, so go ahead and highlight that whole piece there. And what we're going to do now is go to your pulses and then click on voice report. Okay, and so you could print this out if you wanted to. Obviously, you can save it to your save this file to your computer. But these are going. These data will have your jitter, shimmer, and H&R values. So first, let's look at jitter. And so you can see that we want to look at the first one, jitter local, and that's 0.22%. Okay. If you look at your sheet where you record jitter, it says that, sorry, it's really bright from the light, greater than 1.04% is abnormal. You can see that I'm not greater than that, so my jitter value is within normal limits. Remember that jitter is cycle-to-cycle variation in fundamental frequency, right? So what we want to see is the person sort of way outside of the normal range of when they're speaking or when they're phonating. With various voice disorders, patients will have abnormal fluctuations in fundamental frequency. So I can now look and see what my shimmer value is. So I don't have to do another ah for ah1 because shimmer is already there. Sorry, some glare. And Katrina, can you tell me what that number is? It's hard for me.
1.54%.
1.54%. Okay, and so anything greater, all right, than 3.81% is abnormal, so I'm still okay there. Remember that shimmer is cycle-to-cycle variation in amplitude. So when we talk about loudness, if somebody is outside of the normal range of variation in loudness, then they would have abnormal shimmer. Fortunately, I do not. Now we're going to look at the harmonic to noise ratio, and then in some literature it will be described as the noise to harmonic ratio. What I wanted to explain to you what that is. The noise to harmonic ratio is another useful measure of hoarseness. Okay, I'm reading this from a document that I have here. This can be routinely measured using the multidimensional voice program, which we also have in this lab, and certainly you can use this for Praat as well. For a signal that can be assumed to be periodic, for example, a sustained vowel, which is what I did, and you know, periodic meaning that we have a normal waveform there. The signal to noise ratio will be equal to the harmonics to noise ratio. And it is that I prefer to calculate when using Praat. So the harmonic to noise is what is preferable when using Praat, okay? Praat declares that a healthy voice phonating A or E should have an H&R of 20 and 40 for the phonation of the vowel U. Consequently, an H&R below 20 is considered to be a measurable of noticeable hoarseness. Okay, so if we go to the mean harmonic to noise ratio, you can see that I'm at 26.17 decibels. And on your sheet here, it's actually the normative data that I'm showing you is not the decibel range there. It's looking at what we would consider the mean noise to harmonics ratio, but that's not what I captured there, okay? We used Praat, so we're looking at harmonics to noise, and so it's not listed on your guide there on the sheet, but if there is a harmonic to noise ratio below 20, it's considered noticeable hoarseness. So I'm above 20, I'm at 26.17, and I am within normal limits for a hoarseness ratio, okay? All right, so I've been talking now for 35 minutes, we've been recording this. I think that you guys have enough information to do everything you need to do for the acoustic analysis. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'm probably going to do a separate recording on the multidimensional voice program, which is also here in the lab. It does the exact same thing that Praat does. It's just that it actually can provide you with a little bit more information with regard to the voice profile of the person. And I'll talk about that a little bit in class, and then be able to do a demonstration with you guys on that program as well. All right, well, thank you very much, and thank you, Katrina, for your help. Have a great day.